If you're an African immigrant and you're struggling with succeeding during your interview process, I have good news for you. I'll be talking about 3 things that you need to do to improve your chances of securing that job, whatever job it is, when you go for an interview. So first of all, who am I? My name is Noah. I'm a career and prosperity coach. I've helped a lot of people build skills from scratch, especially in tech, to be able to go on their journey to securing 6-figure jobs in careers like business analyst, project manager, change management, software testing, and more. So in this video, learning through my experience and people that I've actually coached and trained, I have seen time and time over so many people struggle during interview, and we built a framework that has proven itself multiple times over on the way to landing people jobs. In fact, you can ask so many people that have gone through our program on how that has been a game changer for you. So I get it. As an African immigrant specifically, there's a culture change when you're trying to interview maybe in Australia, UK, Canada, and the way you answer questions during the interview does not tell all the story about your experience and your skills. But before then, the number one thing you need to do when you get an interview is you need to research the company. You need to know the values. In fact, you need to know the people that will be on the panel. So typically when you get interview invite, they will state the people that will be in the panel. You need to go and research them, like just kind of like know a bit about the roles and what they will be looking out for. Research the company, research your job description. These are very important components for you to be able to position and have the right preparation. The second thing is, we always say as a rule, is that you need to know at least 85% of the questions that they're going to ask you in that interview. Like there's no point going to an interview and you're like thinking on the spot for all the questions in a role that you're an expert. You're supposed to be an expert in. You're supposed to have experience in. So can you imagine that I'm expert, like you're a doctor. Imagine you're interviewing a doctor who is supposed to look after you and you're asking them some questions they don't actually know, like alarm for you. So think about it that way. If you go to an interview, you need to know and be prepared for at least 85% of the questions you're going to ask. And yeah, you can say, hey, how will I know the 85% question? That is where your preparation comes into play. People underestimate this part. So for us as institutes, we have bank of questions that we've collated, gathered, and through the experiences of our students have gone for multiple interviews, we have a bank of questions. So there's literally no questions they're going to ask our students that, except they've not prepared and attended our session, they would definitely meet between 90 to 100% of those questions in interview. And once they've prepared, it increases their chances of securing the job, because it's not the first time they're answering that question. That takes me to the third part: the way you answer questions in an interview. You see, for us as African, we suffer from being very direct, very technical, very serious in interview. We see it as a very high pressure, stressful situation. And don't get me wrong, like interviews are a stressful situation, but you need to make it fun. You need to be confident. And that's why we say, hey, you prepare things like your elevator pitch. The first 90 seconds or 2 minutes on how you answer that question. Tell me about yourself and your experience, or what made you apply to this job, makes all the difference in the world, because it allows you settle in, pitch yourself in a way that is clear, is quality. In fact, some of our students go and like, wow, this is so elaborate, this is so clear. You've even answered 2-3 other questions we had penned down already because of how much concise. It's like, if you think about the thrillers in, Netflix series, or you think about like ads, you have to get to the point in a very short time. And you need to get the whole idea, like the snapshot, the interesting part that will allow them lean into you. Also, when they're asking you all those questions, you need to approach that question. I always prefer like a storytelling, because I know the STAR framework can be very abstract with people trying to calculate, what is the situation? What is the task? What is the action? What is the result? Right? That framework is easy, but the implementation is hard for some people. But that is why you need to practice. For me, I prefer storytelling. There was a time when I was working on this project. In that role, as a business analyst, I was looking after writing requirements to give clarity to my technical team. That was the situation. The project we're working on was building XYZ application. You see that there's a progression. I'm giving you context. The problem was, we're working on this project because the initial mobile app that the company was using was reaching end of life. It was hard to maintain, and therefore we had to build a new mobile app. So I was leading the team, writing the requirement, engaging with stakeholders to collect the requirement and translate it to technical specification for the development team to be able to build a robust application. So leading through that team, I was engaging with things like requirement gathering, writing requirement, testing, UAT, and all the other stuff to ensure that the product was built to meet users' requirement and business objective. As a result, we built it in 6 months, delivered on time, on budget, and the organization was able to deploy it to the customer, meaning we acquired new customer, and the customer satisfaction rating for the existing customer went up, thereby getting recommendation from the organization, job well done, and promotion. This is my experience. This way is clear. I end it with a cheeky laugh. That's me. So it gives context. It's not something that they start to ask you, oh, so what happened next? Oh, what did you do next? Like that will lead to more questions because you were not clear. So you've described the situation. You've kind of like drawn them into that story, like they worked with you. And if you approach that with all your questions, then you have left no stone unturned. And married to the preparation I mentioned earlier, you have changed the game. So I believe that if you have all these practice and more, some of the in-depth framework on how you control your pitch, how you don't sound like flat, because there's a difference between talking like, oh yeah, so in my experience as a business analyst, to how I'm going, like stressing, contracting the word to give it emphasis, like drama, like all of those things are important to change the game for you. And these are not things that you can just do in a day and master it. It's taking me years. Even me, I'm still in the journey of learning, and even content creation helps me to be able to sound more interesting, control the pitch. Know when you're like solemn, go flat and go high again and control the pitch. That is important component that we underrate, that makes us sound more interesting, more likable, and makes all the difference for you. Because sometimes it is your performance in that journey, in that interview, that will determine how you're going to proceed, if you're going to get the job offer or not. And this is where so many people are falling down. So if you want our help to coach you through this, to simulate the experience with you, to give you feedback that will change you, that will change your life. If you absolutely have gone for more than 2-3 interviews and they've given you, unfortunately, sometimes they tell you it's culture fit, is this, is that, is because you simply did not do well. So you need to go 120% better than ever. Remember, it's also a competition. You're not the only one there interviewing. But I know a lot of times you've got the skills, you've got the experience, but you just don't know how to interview correctly. I suffered from that a lot, and I'm telling you from a place of pain. So we've mastered this framework. If you need our help, comment anywhere in the video, send me a DM, or click the link in the description or the bio, or wherever channel you're watching this from, and I'll see you on the other side.